God has good plans for each of his children, and we cannot recognize his purposes when we are going through the issue and are living it out. We cannot understand what purpose he has for us. And so God is encouraging us by telling us in Isaiah chapter 55 and verses 8 and 9. He says, God is talking to us. He's saying, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Many times we fail to recognize God's purposes in our lives when things happen that we don't like. But the ultimate thing, the result is very good. I can explain it from our life. Now, we were in the army, and my husband was posted in Srinagar when the insurgency was the highest, and both my children were having board exams. My eldest son was having 12th board exams, and my second son was having 10th exams, and my husband was far away. At that time, my son did very bad in his prelims exam, my second son in the 10th standard, and I told the principal, don't let him appear for the board exam, otherwise he will have a black mark in his name if he fails in the subjects. But the principal said, to which place do you belong? So I said, we belong to Secunderabad. We have a flat over there. So he said, why don't you take your son to Secunderabad after the 10th exam and let him join LIC vocational. He will have some work in his hand, and very happily, against my will, but because of my son, we shifted to our flat in Secunderabad. And there, as soon as my son joined that vocational course, he started shining and doing very well and became the topper in his class in the board exam. So then he said, I don't want to be clerk. I want to join the degree with distinction marks. We had to let him join the degree. And with the degree, my second son, he finished his company secretary passing exam. Every time he appeared, he became a total topper. But then he had to work with a company secretary. And then he said, Mama, I can't work as a company secretary's assistant because we have to give bribes to the registrar of companies, and I can't do it, and I want to do MBA. Now, this boy had given up maths after the 10th, and in MBA level, you need 12th level maths. So we put him for 1 month tuition in maths with a neighbor, and then he appeared for the MBA entrance exam. And by God's grace, all those sitting in front of him and behind did not qualify, but he was the single fellow who qualified in that classroom, and he joined MBA and did wonderfully well, and he got a job in the campus recruitment as an officer as a manager in a bank. And in that banking, he rose very high, and today he is a very senior banker. At that time, we couldn't see it all. We could only see his failure marks. But today, he has got the most number of degrees in our family. He is MBA and BCom and MA Economics, and he cleared the CAAIB exam, and he cleared up all these exams, and he's the one who is studied the most and done, from his past, he has risen up to this level. But at that time, we did not realize it, because God's thoughts towards our sons were great, and God lifted them up, and we had a happy time living in Secunderabad and still living in Secunderabad, because God's purposes were great. We couldn't see it at that time, but we see it now, because God's thoughts for us is for good and not for calamity, to give us a good future and a good hope. Exactly, God has done that. So are you going through troubles, tribulations and trials and difficulties and are sad in your heart? I think you should love the Lord and leave everything in His hands, because His thoughts are not our thoughts. His ways are not our ways. He has a much better plan for us and uses the means for us to follow Him and to enjoy these plans. Because if you love the Lord and are called according to His purposes, He will make all things work out for your good. That is our good God, who has good plans for us. So let us submit ourselves and yield ourselves in His hands.